Hello guys, welcome back to another video. I recently went on a trip to Mexico, as you'll be able to see on my channel. I posted a little vlog of that travel. It was an absolutely amazing trip. I took a week off of work. It was beautiful. The weather was perfect, even though it was the Christmas time. It was still really warm and cozy, and we had a great time, great experiences. We met a lot of cool people in the hostels and all that jazz. But given that my primary focus on this channel is to talk about finances and budgeting, I wanted to do a cost breakdown of how much my trip cost in total. Let's get into that. So first and foremost, we had my flight, the beginning of the trip. On my flight, I spent a total of $293.86, which is not bad. We had 2 layovers in Fort Lauderdale on the way to Mexico and on the way back. Which I guess if we account for time of value is a little bit more expensive, but overall I was traveling with 2 of my really good friends, so the layovers didn't feel that bad. And for this value, I think the flight was pretty well worth, given we're going international. I had friends who went home during the holidays and their tickets to, for example, Colorado from Texas were $300, so I thought the value was pretty good on that. Unfortunately, I didn't use any credit card points because I'm saving those for later trip in the year. Next up, my largest expense on this trip, given my big bag, is food. I spent a total of $351.28 on food. Now, I know the first thing you're gonna say, but Mexico and food's supposed to be cheap, which it is. It's a lot cheaper than it is eating out in the States. However, I was enjoying myself on the vacation. Also, we were super active. We were walking 20,000 steps a day. We played volleyball almost every day. So I was burning a lot of calories, so I had to maintain and eat just as much. And eat I did. I was tearing up tacos, tortas, the salsas, chilaquiles. I ate everything. It was absolutely delicious, and I have no regrets spending this much on food. Along with this also includes any desserts like ice cream, any drinks that we had going out, anything alcohol related, or any snacks in between from the convenience stores. This is all covered under food. So I think overall it's pretty good value, because if I ate out nearly as much as I did in Mexico, in the US, this would probably be double if not triple. Moving on is I had cash. I brought $200 cash, which I turned into pesos. Now, I didn't keep the receipts of every single individual cash transaction, so I can't break that down into the other categories. So I decided to make it its own. Essentially, the conversion rate that we had was about 17 and a half-ish pesos per dollar. So I converted that into pesos, and we used some of this to pay for excursions, the hostels, food, and whatnot. But again, I didn't keep receipts on that, so that's why I'm making it its own category. Next up on our list is hostels. So instead of staying in hotels and resorts and other expensive places where most tourists will probably stay, we decided to stay in hostels, just because in hostels you get a more authentic feeling. You're surrounded by other travelers who are also either solo traveling or traveling with a few friends, so it's more like-minded people, and it's a lot more budget friendly. I think for the total time I was there, the hostel's cost came out to $175, which breaks down to less than $20 a night, which I think is amazing. Even right now, if you're to break down my rent, it's about that, and I have really low rent in the States. So $20 a night for a stay is phenomenal. I try to stay at hostels anytime I travel, just because I think the value is there. And also they usually have fun events. For example, we did cocktail making, which was awesome. I made my own margarita. That was pretty fun. And other such sport events, ping pong and whatnot, even volleyball, stargazing, all that. So I think that's why hostels are worth it, and you also get to save some money. Is excursions. So on excursions in Mexico, I spent a total of $79.28. And now this included a bike. We rented a bike where we biked 30 kilometers to a cenote. A cenote is essentially an underground pool inside of a cave, but it's fresh water, and it's like absolutely beautiful. There's a bunch of cenotes in Mexico which are connected underground, and when we went, we actually got the cave to ourselves, which was an awesome experience. There was no one else there. It was just us 3 in the cave in the water, and it was probably some of the bluest water I've ever seen in my life, which was crazy because I didn't think cave water could be so blue, right? Along with that, we also got to see bioluminescent light in Holbox. We took out kayaks in the middle of the night around 9 p.m. and when we were swimming, the water was lighting up. We had goggles and everything, so it was absolutely beautiful. I have no regrets on any of these excursions. These were all so worth their purchase, and are stories that I'm going to tell for years to come to my kids and all my friends who ask me about traveling to Mexico. Transportation. So when we were in Mexico, we stopped in 3 cities. At first, we went to Bacalar, which is near the Belize border. Then we went to Holbox, which is this little island not too far from Cancun. And our last stay was in Valladolid. all of these cities were absolutely amazing, but in order to get there, we used buses. They have this pretty big bus line called ADO, and buses were anywhere from $10 to $30 a bus. In total, I spent $139.24 getting around. We did travel a lot with the buses, but they're all really comfortable buses, so I think it was worth it. I was able to sleep comfortably. In fact, I slept better on the bus than I did on the plane. Shout out Spirit Airlines. Finally, on my list is laundry, right? So given that we were traveling with small backpacks, I didn't have enough clothes to last the whole trip. So I had to reuse, or not reuse, but I had to wash my clothes so I can have clothes for the rest of the trip. The boys did something similar. So we ended up all doing laundry, and my cost for laundry was $5.72. Of course, this is super worth it so you can be hygienic, so you're not nasty and smell dirty. But yeah, this brings my total trip cost for my 9 nights in Mexico to $1,244.63. Right, I think this is a great value. We had friends who went to Colorado for 3-4 days who spent more than this on their 3-4 day trip. We got to get a lot more value out of our trip going to Mexico, seeing a new culture, practice my Spanish, and meet new people, which I think are the most valuable parts of traveling. You know, it's super important to see the world while you're young because it can shift your perspective and teach you lessons that will be essential to the rest of your life, right? It can really make you successful.